November 23rd, 1942. Dawn breaks over the snow-choked ruins of Stalingrad, where the Volga River freezes solid under a merciless Soviet winter. Explosions rip through the air like thunderclaps, and the ground trembles as Red Army tanks, hulking T-34s with their sloped armor gleaming in the pale light, surge forward in a pincer movement that no one in the German high command saw coming. You can almost hear the crunch of tracks on ice, feel the biting wind whipping through the skeletal buildings where Wehrmacht soldiers huddle, their breaths fogging the barrels of their Karabiner 98K rifles. General Friedrich Paulus, commander of the 6th Army, stares at his maps in a dimly lit bunker, his face gaunt under the flicker of a kerosene lamp. Reports flood in, Romanian flanks crumbling, Soviet spearheads linking up at Kalach. The trap snaps shut. In those frantic hours, Paulus's forces, over 300,000 men strong, find themselves encircled in a cauldron of death. The city they've been grinding into dust for months now becomes their prison. Street by street, the Germans had pushed forward since August, bombing Stalingrad into a labyrinth of rubble where snipers perched like ghosts, and hand-to-hand combat turned basements into slaughterhouses. Hitler's orders were clear. Capture the city named after his arch-nemesis, Stalin, at any cost. It was to be the gateway to the Caucasus oil fields, the blow that would cripple the Soviet Union. Paulus, ever the obedient staff officer with his polished boots and precise demeanor, had assured the Führer it could be done. Initial advances were swift. Luftwaffe Stukas screaming overhead, panzer divisions rolling through the steppes like an unstoppable tide. By September, they held 90% of the city, the Red Army clinging to slivers of the western bank. But the Soviets weren't broken. Far from it. Marshal Georgy Zhukov, the stocky, iron-willed strategist with a reputation for turning disasters into triumphs, had been plotting in secrecy. While Paulus's troops bled in urban warfare, fighting room to room with bayonets, grenades, and improvised Molotov cocktails, Zhukov amassed 1 million men, thousands of tanks, and artillery pieces on the flanks. He exploited the weak links, the Romanian 3rd and 4th Armies, poorly equipped allies thrust into the line with outdated weapons and threadbare coats. On November 19th, Operation Uranus unleashed hell. Soviet infantry stormed forward under barrages that lit the sky, T-34s smashing through defenses like battering rams. The Romanians folded, their lines evaporating in panic. By the 23rd, the encirclement was complete, a 20-mile deep pocket sealing the 6th Army's fate. Inside the Kessel, as the Germans called it, chaos reigns. Supplies dwindle, ammunition crates run empty. Soldiers scavenge for food among the dead, boiling horse meat in helmets over feeble fires. Frostbite claims fingers and toes. Typhus spreads like wildfire through the ranks. Paulus signals Berlin. Army requests immediate permission to break out. But back in the wolf's lair, Hitler's fortified headquarters in the East Prussian forests, the response is defiant. The Führer, pacing before his massive oak table strewn with maps, dismisses the pleas. Hermann Göring, the rotund Reichsmarschall of the Luftwaffe, boasts that his planes can airlift everything needed. 500 tons a day, he promises. Hitler latches on, his eyes blazing with that unyielding fervor. Hold Stalingrad, he commands. It will be our fortress. Yet whispers of doubt creep in. Field Marshal Erich von Manstein, the brilliant tactician summoned to salvage the mess, urges a relief operation. But the encirclement tightens like a noose. Soviet artillery pounds relentlessly, shells whistling in with deadly accuracy. German troops, once the conquerors of Europe, now dig foxholes in frozen earth, their MG-42 machine guns chattering desperately against waves of Red Army assaults. You can picture a young Gefreiter, his hands numb on the trigger, wondering if the promised supplies will ever come. Planes do arrive. Junkers Ju-52s lumbering through blizzards, but blizzards and anti-aircraft fire claim many. Deliveries average a pitiful 100 tons daily. Starvation sets in. Men weaken. their uniforms hanging like shrouds. As December dawns, the situation turns apocalyptic. Zhukov's forces press inward, compressing the pocket. Paulus's headquarters in the Gumrak airfield becomes a scene of desperation, wounded stacked in hangars, the stench of gangrene thick in the air. Hitler promotes Paulus to field marshal, a not-so-subtle hint. No German field marshal has ever surrendered. But the noose draws tighter. Will the Sixth Army hold, or will the frozen Volga claim them all? The answer hangs in the balance, a revelation brewing far from the front lines.